Good morning, class. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today we're going to be looking at uh, problem solving and computing. This time we're into lesson 5, which is input and output. So yesterday we learned about what a computer was, and this is a device that's going to help us with thinking problems. So today let's find out about input and outputs. So for our warm-up, I want you guys to jump into your CS journals. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that. All right, now that you have your journal open, imagine that you're going to recommend a pet to someone. What are 3 questions you would ask them to help make that recommendation? So think about this. What are 3 questions you would ask them to help make that recommendation? So think about that. Get this written down in your journal. Go ahead and pause the video if you need. Okay, hopefully you came up with some questions. One example I might have is, are you allergic to anything? Might make a difference on what type of animal they could have, right? So now, turn to your shoulder partner and take turns asking your questions and making a recommendation to your partner. So turn to your partner, ask your questions, and we're going to do turn taking, right? And then we're going to come up with a partner or come up with a pet at the end. So one thing I'd ask, are you allergic to anything? If they were to say, yes, I'm allergic to horses, well, horses would definitely be off the recommendation, right? And then I might ask, do you want a large pet or a small pet? If they said small, well, then I would definitely not recommend some of the larger dogs, right? We wouldn't want something like a Great Pyrenees or a Great Dane as that because they're wanting something smaller. And then I may say, do you want a friendly pet, something that cuddles? And if they say no to that, then I may come to the point of saying, oh, well, then maybe a snake would be a good pet for you. Right? It's not a horse, so they're not allergic to it. It's a smaller animal, and it's definitely not something that I want to cuddle with. So you go ahead and do that with your partner now. Pause the video if you need. Okay, in your journal, let's get these vocabulary words down. So the first one is input, the information computers get from users, devices, or other computers. So input, it's the information computers get from users, that's us, people. Devices, that could be a whole bunch of things, right? It could be something that gets from my phone. It could be something that gets from my smartwatch. It could be something that it gets from the keyboard. Or it could also be things that come from another computer. Think about my 3D printer. My computer sends the information to the printer for that 3D printer to print out. So it's coming from another computer. And then output. This is the information computers give, okay? The information computers give to users, devices, or other computers. So the output, the information computer gives to other devices, users, or computers. So the computer usually will have something on the monitor, right? That something's given the user. We can see that. It may give us some sound, right? And it may also print something. But it can also give stuff to others, right? When my computer sends the program to the 3D printer, it is giving that program or that instructions on how to print to that. So it's output from my computer and input to the 3D printer. Kind of cool. The internet is information coming from other computers to our computer. All right, question of the day. What you should think about as we work through this. How do computers use input and output to get and give the information that they need to solve problems? So as we work today, think about this. How do computers use input and output to get and give the information they need to solve the problems? So our activity today, we're going to be jumping into code.org. We'll start by looking at the Pet Chooser app. It says try playing this Pet Chooser app a few times. So I just want you to get in there. I want you to see what type of animal it ends up recommending for you, okay? As you're doing that, though, think about what are inputs. What am I giving this app? What type of instructions, information, what am I giving it? And what are the outputs? What is it giving me back? Okay. So I'm going to jump out. Now remember, I want you to go in. I want you to go to the lesson resources. Excuse me. And I want you to download this activity guide, okay? Make sure you make a copy. File, make a copy. And then we're going to try it. We're going to look for inputs. We're going to look for outputs. I will work with the first one with you. So I'm going to jump into the Pet Chooser app. And we're just going to play it. Okay, so it says press the run button. Here we go. So the ultimate pet chooser. Click here to start. So I am telling it, yes, I want to start. Are you allergic to pet fur? I'm going to say no. Do you like to go outside? We'll say no on this one. How cute should your, oh, I want a very cute pet. Oh, I got a hamster. Okay, so it used what I gave it and said, oh, here, why don't you have a hamster? Okay, reset, run. You can go through it again and play with it a couple of times. See if you can find all the inputs and see if you can find all the different outputs. Once we're done with that, we're going to go to the story creator app. And we're going to do the same thing. Play with it a little bit. Look for the inputs. Now you're going to find out that there are more inputs on this one. They're a little different than what we had before, but there are more inputs. And then the outputs, maybe not quite as many, or maybe it's unlimited depending on how you look at it. Okay. So you're going to go in and play that one next, and then you're going to fill out your activity guide with those two. Inputs, outputs for that. And then here we go. Your app idea. You, with your shoulder partner, think of a new app idea. What does your app do? What inputs and what outputs would it need? Okay, so think about that. On here, we got a spot for it. What does your app do? What type of inputs does it have? What type of outputs does it have? Other sources of input, so far, all of the inputs that we've seen come directly from the user. We've been clicking the button, yes, I want that, or I type my name in, or whatever. It's been coming straight from us as a person. We're the user, right? Is there any other ways that apps can get the information that they need? So think about that. Other inputs. Are there other ways things can get information? Other ways computers can get information? Do I always have to give it everything it needs? Think about that. You and your partner work through that together. And then they have an improved Pet Chooser app. It says this new version of the Pet Chooser app also tells you where you can find a pet. Okay? What are the new inputs? What are the sources of the new inputs. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is not a live map. And the reason this is not a live Google map is because, remember, we can't be giving out information on where students are. So this is kind of make-believe in a way. But think of it as if this were a real live working Google map in our app, okay? So as you work through that, we got to do a little bit of pretending that it is live and really working. So here we go. You're going to be filling out the new improved app. User, phone sensors, internet. Ooh, what are those? So you're going to go ahead and fill out. What we're looking for is where this information is coming from, okay? And then your app idea. How could you use other sources of input to improve your app, the app you thought about, okay? And then for our wrap up, think about this. Brainstorm an everyday activity you or people you know do with an app or computer. What is the input used for this activity, and what is the output for that activity? Again, we have that input and output for vocabulary, things that we're going to be using for pretty much the rest of not just this year, but while you're in my classes. And remember that input is the information computers get from users, devices, or other computers. And output is the information computers give to users, devices, or other computers. I hope you guys had a great day. Enjoy this activity. I think it's kind of fun to think about what we're giving computers and what they're giving us. And I'll see you guys later.